My name is Raymond Barr, and I'd like to tell you about three discoveries that we made recently in the Canton area as part of the Canton History Research Project. We started out with the Watershed Project, looking at trash coming into the inner harbor, and this was coming, you can see here, the pedestrian bridge, and this is across from Safeway in Canton, and you can see the outlet of this watershed coming here. And the watershed was 17 neighborhoods from Clifton Park down to the outlet across from the Safeway. And it was bringing 5 tons of trash a month down to this area. So we started the Harris Creek Watershed Project in 2010 and found out that the trash was coming from the backyards of vacant houses in this watershed, and that when the trash was on the ground, when the rainwater would come, it would wash the trash down into the inner harbor. So we found out where most of it was coming from, and we put together a project to get rid of the trash in the backyards of vacant houses by having the residents call 311 and identify where the accumulations or mini landfills were taking place. And once we were able to do about 100 of these, we were able to see a significant reduction in the trash to the inner harbor. So this was called the Harris Creek Watershed. Harris Creek 200 years ago looked like this. And this went all the way up to Patterson Park and through Patterson Park. But in today's world, it does not exist because it's been all filled in, piers and here where a Safeway is, and no longer exists. And the question is, what happened to Harris Creek? How did it disappear? So we began a research project looking into this. This is the site on Harris Creek where the Constellation was built in 1797 and was considered the first Navy yard in the United States. And what happened was a bridge was placed over Harris Creek for a reason, and when that occurred, no longer could wooden boats be built in Harris Creek. And what happened then, there would be various bridges that would take people across them, going all the way up to Patterson Park. And later on, these were all filled in, and when they're filled in, that's where a Safeway exists at the present time. Why was this bridge put across it here? And you can see actually the train coming down. So it's not just a bridge. In fact, it was a covered bridge to begin with. But this was a railroad that was coming down. This was the Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Baltimore Railroad. And what happened here was Industrial Revolution started in Canton, and there was need for transportation of products. So a fellow by the name of Peter Cooper and others formed the Canton Company of Baltimore and bought out the 3,000 acres of the O'Donnell estate. And when that happened, they entered into an agreement with the railroad, the Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Baltimore Railroad, to not only build this bridge, but at the same time, about 100 yards away, they built a train depot. And the train depot would be where the engines were that took passengers all the way to Philadelphia and to New York. The trains were first built in 1828 to B&O, so this is only 10 years after that that this bridge was built, as well as this train depot. And this train depot has significance because right here is where it was, right at the elbow on Boston Street near Kenwood Avenue here. And you can see here, when that happened, the water of Harris Creek was blocked in, and this was eventually paved over. And now, again, sits the Safeway. So what happened then, this was the train depot that Frederick Douglass, we have pretty good evidence for, used in order to escape. He was 20 at the time. He was being somewhat brutally tortured at times by his owner, and he wanted to escape to freedom. And he put together an elaborate scheme that was successful, but part of it was coming late to this depot and jumping on board and being dressed as a sailor and having papers with you that would get the conductor to allow him to continue. And he was scared, very scared. He would say later on his heart was beating as fast as a deer, and that's about 140, 150 times a minute. And he was that way until he got to Philadelphia and further places north. But this was very important. This is in the museum in Fells Point, in the Frederick Douglass Museum, talking about this escape through the railroad train in Canton. And this is the fugitive law that stated that no matter where a person escaped to, if he was caught, he had to be brought back to the original place, and he would have been placed back on the plantation on the Eastern Shore, where he would have spent the rest of his life in slavery. This is the spot where it took place. This is showing the bridge over the Harris Creek, and we will have history panels on this site in the near future for residents to learn something about history, as well as part of the tour from the Frederick Douglass Museum in Fells Point, the Frederick Douglass tour. This is showing Frederick Douglass. He interacted after that, very importantly, with Abe Lincoln and helped bring back the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. One, freeing the slaves. Two, giving them citizenship. And third, allowing them to vote. But even though he became friends of Lincoln, they did have their differences. And this right here is Peter Cooper, who was the founder of the Canton Company of Baltimore. And when he bought out the O'Donnell estate, he was able to successfully engineer the industrialization of the Canton area. And this began in 1828. And when that occurred, many things were coming into effect that made for success in this area. The power was changed from stream power to steam power, and steam power was mobile and could be used on ships, in factories, and on railroads. There was demand for product from the 49ers in California, as well as from the Civil War soldiers. There was industrialization with the first industry was the oyster canning company that was able to put together the first fast food. The cans of oysters were shipped all across the United States. And there was tremendous product here because the Chesapeake Bay was able to produce 15 million bushels of oysters per year, in contrast to now we're seeing less than 200,000, plus all the produce on the Eastern Shore of Maryland allowed for the canning industry to be successful in the Canton area. So this started the industrialization in Canton and extended out later on as much as Back River. So this is the entire footprint of the Canton Company, about 4,000 acres. And it started in the Canton area, would start industry around Clinton and Boston Street, go down to Clinton Street, where it would convert the pastoral living there to piers and shipping industry that was very successful. And then Lower Canton here, continuing the shipping industry and even improving upon it, and going out the Burning Highway, where you had General Motors and Lever Brothers and General Electric. And again, this took industries all the way to Back River. So the Canton Company of Baltimore was orchestrated the successful industrialization of Canton and extended it beyond Canton all the way to Back River, showing the many industries, the Blue Book of Industries that took place in the Canton area. There were as many as 150 companies involved here over the years. And this is a composite map of the 4,000 acres, showing you the major industries that took place, as well as the railroads that were very important, because the Canton Railroad was able to take, with their switching system, take cargo from the ships and then take it to the larger tracks, such as the Pennsylvania and the B&O. So the Canton Company played a major role in Baltimore becoming a major seaport and manufacturing city. The district provided a stable employment base for decades and remained one of the oldest and most successful industrial park developments in America's history. The company once controlled a large amount of acreage, which it developed over a century and a half, from 1828 to 1980, and generated an employment for thousands of workers and millions of dollars of investment in Baltimore. The Canton Company would pick up its greatest success developing the maritime and shoreline industries that gained access to the shipping channels of the Chesapeake Bay and ports throughout the world. So the discoveries made through this project was, one, finding out what happened to Harris Creek, and the answer was putting a bridge over the creek and for the need for transportation. And then finding out that a train depot was made at the same time, and this train depot was used by Frederick Douglass to escape. Some people thought for a while that it might be the President Street station where he escaped from, but at that time they did not have engines up there. They had horse-driven cars that would bring passengers to Canton in order to get on the locomotion that would take them north. And the third discovery is the discovery of the industrialization of Canton that was successful for 150 years. So these three discoveries have played a major role in the success of the Canton area and have led to the current success, as well as the expansion of these industries out even more east to the to Amazon, to the finding of the old airport and using it for the shipping industry, as well as the tech industries now merging with the medical institutions at Bayview, John Hopkins, and we're seeing the fusion of success in that area. So thank you for listening, and we'll tell you more about Canton in days to come. Thank you.